Hi there. Welcome to American Snippets. I am your co-founder, Barb Allen. And those of you who listen in to our show and follow us on our site, you know that we often talk about patriotism and the American dream, what it means to us and what we hope that it comes to mean to people all across this country. It is thanks to the service and dedication of our men and women in the military, as well as our law enforcement and first responders, that we here have the freedom to live our lives secure in the knowledge that they all are watching over us. But what we see too often, especially with our military men and women, when they come home from the combat that they've given so much for, they often struggle overwhelmingly sometimes to make that transition from combat to the civilian world. And the country does seem to be paying more attention to this very important issue now, but there's still so many day after day after day fall through, and they never truly even get to experience that American dream, which they themselves and their families have given so much for. So while we are involved in all sorts of efforts to make sure that this gap closes, to the extent that we can help it close, it does us such good, and it is so refreshing to see when veterans do come back and are able to make that transition and are able to make that leap and do get to realize that American dream, which they've given so much for. Today's guest, Daniel Alarik, is one of those success stories, hard-earned success stories, which is part of the beauty of the story, we think. He is an Army drill sergeant turned entrepreneur who started off with about a $1,200 stake and turned it into a $100 million business, which is really more of a culture that looks like so much fun to be a part of in terms of even working and being involved there. It's such an epic, unapologetically patriotic company and culture. He's got a mission to serve something bigger than himself while making every home in America a patriotic one. And we are so happy to have you here with us today.
Well, thank you for having me on. This is great. I'm excited.
Yeah, we are too. I love it when I just randomly say, I'm going to try this person and they get back to me. It's so cool. I think it even says a lot about people themselves when you get to where you are and you exemplify, turning around to still pick up that phone and make the call. It's cool. So let's start a little bit. We'll go a little in order and then jump around a bit. Your military career, tell us a little bit about that, what you did in the service.
Well, sure. I joined right out of high school. I didn't want to go to college. I wasn't a great student anyway, so it was probably for the best. I joined in 2000 into communications. I deployed a couple times right after 9/11 for about 2 years total, and then I switched over to infantry, and then I became a drill sergeant. Did that for about 3 years. And then I joined the Illinois National Guard after that, and I recently just got out. I'm actually still in the IRR. I got a few weeks left in that, actually, I think. I had a recruiter reach out to me the other week. He's like, hey, he's going down his list. He's like, hey, you want to stay in? I'm like, can I stay in the IRR? But no, that's about it.
That's about it. Was there any moment in your military career that has stuck with you that made a lasting impression on your life personally or professionally, or something that you just carry with you today?
All of it. I mean, you go anywhere from, a lot of the great leaders, regardless of what their rank was at that time, leading by example, and people going out of their way trying to teach and mentor you. I mean, every generation of leaders feels, at least from my perspective, felt obligated to pass down their decade or 2 decades worth of experience into you, and that's probably some of the greatest moments. And there's a lot of them. When I go out and speak, and people are like, what do you use from the military to help build your business? And there's no one thing. It's a series of a lot of things. And military arms with a lot of tools that you have in your tool belt when you're going into becoming a civilian.
So when you got out of the full-time, the military there, you did make that effort to conform to the civilian workforce and work for other people, but it wasn't necessarily a good match for you.
Oh no, I got fired after 6 weeks at an office job.
I love that, and I'm a little, on behalf of those who haven't served, I'm a little horrified at the story because it's not representative of all of us, but it does happen. So can you share that story a little bit? Because it's funny, even though it's painful to hear. On terms of being a civilian, I'm like, no, we're not all like that. But go.
I was working a desk job in a cubicle, and all we were doing is I would process, something to do with logistics, and we'd ship medical equipment for GE all over the world. And I would transfer, I'd just type up the whatever, I don't even remember what it was. But anyway, so we were just basically shipping these out, and I would do all the paperwork for it electronically, and then the physical paperwork for it. And I would get in at 7:30, and I would work my butt off as fast as I can. And usually I was done by like 9 or 9:30 in the morning. And then I'd go back to my boss. I'm like, all right, I'm ready for the next task. He's like, this is it. This is your job. I'm like, okay, give me something else to do. And he's like, no, you need to spread your work out a little bit more. And I'm like, I'll stack boxes. I don't care. I'll do anything. He's like, no, you need to learn how to pace yourself better. And so the next morning, I brought in I finished my work again, and I started surfing the web, and he's like, hey, you can't do that. I'm like, give me something to do, man. I'm like, I'm done. I got, 6 more hours in this job. And he's like, nope, can't do that. And so the next day I brought him a book. I can't do that either. He did ask me, he's like, hey, help me lose weight, because he was a little overweight, which was fine. And I used to be a personal trainer. I enjoy that stuff. But unfortunately, I kind of went the drill sergeant route, which wasn't appreciated. And then I forget what day of the week it was, I got a phone call, and they said, hey, don't come in tomorrow. You're no longer needed here. And I'm like, oh, really? Why? I'm like, I thought I was working hard. They're like, you're just not a good culture fit.
Oh, wow. So they actually said that to you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they may not use that exact word. They said, you're just not a good fit for what we're looking for. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And I didn't even like the job, but you still have this sense of rejection. I'm like, was my work not good enough?
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to see you appear to have gotten over that calamity there, that major disappointment, in your life. You have a lot going on there at Grunt Style. I mean, I'm sure I didn't even find everything, even when I was digging through. I mean, from your products to your events to your the interviews that you all do out there. You're out there in the community, you're outspoken, you have a fitness app. I mean, starting at the beginning, you worked hard to grow this company. It didn't just happen overnight. You risked everything and almost lost it. You and your wife working together, right?
Yep.
Yeah, which is one of the things that I think is the coolest, because it is amazing what you can do when you have that partner there working with you, when you both believe, because it takes a lot of dedication and sacrifice and your time away from what would normally be like customary dinner hours and all that. And if you don't have that partner that understands and believes in it, wants it as much as you do, it's challenging. So tell us a little bit, and I know you've told the story a bunch of times, but probably a lot of our listeners haven't heard it. That story, which is funny now, but probably wasn't then, about the billboard that you invested in, because it's so symbolic of when people decide, hey, I'm going to go all in, and like, I have this great idea, and then maybe it doesn't work, but then they just give up.
Wow, where did you find that story? That's got to be buried somewhere.
It's not buried. It actually went. Anytime you find something about you, you find the billboard story. It's there.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. No. So starting in business, I was in Fort Benning, Georgia, and that's where I was a drill sergeant at, and I had this brilliant idea of, let's put a billboard with our website on it, on one of the first billboards before you go into the base. And there's graduations almost, definitely every single week. Tens of thousands of people are going through here, every single month. And I'm like, no brainer. So I took all of our marketing money, which I didn't even know how to budget for it, and we invested in this billboard. It was like $600 to build it, and then $1,000 a month to maintain it, and absolutely no return whatsoever, and it nearly bankrupted us. And I remember at one point I was 6 months behind on paying something as small as $1,000 a month. Mm-hmm. It nearly ruined us. And I'm on the phone every other day with them, like, hey, I'm trying. We're gonna pay this bill, et cetera. It was really, really tough, but I just didn't know what I was doing. And and it's so common that things that when you're getting into business, you think, oh well, of course this makes sense. Why wouldn't we do this? But once you have the experience, you're like, ooh, don't do that. That doesn't work. But that's what experience is you had those knots on your head of, well, that's dumb. Don't do that. And it's how many times do you suffer that pain before you realize, well, I'm not going to keep going through door number 2. Let's try door number 3.
Right. So, but instead of just taking that and giving up and saying, I suck at this, I'll never make it happen, you just sort of doubled down and said, well, that did suck, but we're going to keep going.
Yeah. I mean, you can call it, maybe I was dumb. I don't know. But, business, just like most things that are hard to do that you don't have the experience in doing, is like going through a maze, right? You're the rat in the maze. And as long as you understand that you went through a dead end and you don't go through that dead end again, you can find a different way. And you're going to probably go through another dead end. But as long as you don't keep going through the same dead end, you're eventually going to get out.
Yep. That's the plan anyway. Some people get stuck, but it happens.
Well, if you're stuck, because you stayed in a dead end, or you keep going down the same one.
Yep. So you have just not just veterans working for you. You have veterans and civilians. How do you find, or do you even find anything notable about how they blend together? Do they learn from each other? Do they have conflicts from each other? How is it? Because that's one of the things that I know a lot of veterans also struggle with, is having civilians relate to them. And civilians too, they have some misperceptions about veterans, combat veterans in particular. And I hear it all the time. And I see it professionally in my work. People come in and say, well, so-and-so said this about me. They think that. So how does that work in your company? Do you kind of elevate each other? Does it work for you?
We celebrate together. Everything we do, we do it together. So we don't like to discriminate. You're not a vet, so you can't participate. Right. I mean, outside of the Marine Corps birthday, they take that very serious for some reason.
Yes, they do. They're like crazy about that stuff. Yeah.
But in most work environments, if you're the vet, you're the veteran in the company, right? Okay. You have 100 people, you're the veteran. That's it. Maybe you might come across another one, but in our company, it's different. It's at any given time, and we'll fluctuate, but it's about half of us are vets. So if you're the civilian, we're using lingo and jargon all day long that you got to keep up and maintain. So yes, we hire a lot of business professionals that have no military experience. We get to learn from them. And then we have a lot of military members who have a lot of strong leadership and work ethic and different type of experiences. And it kind of meshes together for what we are. So we're a very militaristic culture, but it's not so centric where it ostracizes any other any other community or group.
So you say that and it sounds so seamless and easy. And I just want to make sure, that's something to be congratulated for. Yeah, I know. But when you're able to say it so neatly, it does sound so easy. So good for all of you for making that happen. Because I know that is one of the major impediments to veterans coming back and assimilating, is finding that balance and that harmony with the civilian population who hasn't served and doesn't understand what they've been through. So it's a fine line to walk. And it seems like that's something that you all there have accomplished pretty well. Like a good template.
I can only make so much impact on the culture. I mean, anyway, you can't, like, you see CEOs come and go all the time, and sometimes you'll have a new CEO come in real brash and young, and he's like, we're going to change the culture and blah, blah, blah. The CEO really doesn't impact the culture as much as, everyone likes to think. It's your team. The team impacts the culture. So what the CEO can do is it can nudge it in a direction or one or the other, and it can either make it very restrictive or very open. But allowing it to be open and nudging it into a direction, your team has full control of the culture. So when I hear a story about someone saying, "Hey, we have an employee that was, had severe TBI or PTSD, and they were struggling at work, so we took them to the VA hospital. We're gonna put them up in this hotel or send them for 2 weeks at this veteran retreat or whatever." The word I get, it's not, "Hey Dan, is this okay?" It's, "This is what we did. We're just letting you know." That's the culture.
Yeah, that's extraordinary. That's so cool. And again, another thing to be proud of, within your community, to have any workforce. I just left a job that we had like 6 people in the office, and there was rarely harmony in that office. So, it's just not an easy task to accomplish. Your son is a big part of what you do. I, hop on your Facebook page and there's all sorts of, I'm a mom, I have 4 boys, right? So, you're kind of drawn to.
Oh, for you.
I know it's quite the adventure. And they just you're one of them, but you all just get grosser as you get bigger, I think, and weirder, but it's good. It's
and
fun.
It doesn't change as you
No, it doesn't change, but it keeps me, keeps me humble.
Children, 5 boys.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. It just keeps me humble. But I watched when you opened your Alpha Outpost box.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what that is. And he was hysterical, by the way, doing that.
That was all
up with you.
Yeah, he was like,
that was great.
He likes watching YouTube and, he likes science shows and geography shows on YouTube. And he also likes unboxing for like electronics and stuff like that. And he has this little camera and he's like, hey, can we practice doing an unboxing? I'm like, you want to do a real one? He's like, okay. So I had my Alpha Outpost package, which is our box of the month club or gear of the month. You can check it out at alphaoutpost.com. But I get the package. I don't know what's exactly in all the packages, and I keep it that way. Just like Club Grunt Style, I don't know what the shirt of the month is. I can. I go and inspect things all the time, and I get to see the things they're working on. But I really like the surprise of it. I want the same customer experience. I trust the team that they're going to do a great job, and they always impress me. So I'm like, Ethan, let's do a real one. So we set up a little camera. And he went through it. I mean, it was the whole thing was rehearsed, as you can tell.
It was so cute. He's like, add a lot of calories, and that's you. I was dying. I'm like, because that is just priceless. Children, I get the same stuff for my kids, but it was adorable. Tell us a little bit about the Alpha Outpost and the different products you have, because I was scrolling through that. That's another. It's just such a cool thing that you guys managed to do. It looks so professional and so creative. I don't know how you bring it in so where it's only like $40 a month for people, right? It seems like an insane value that you're getting for $40 a month.
Yeah. We used to, Alpha Outpost was a very interesting business learning experience because we were already, very successful with Grunt Style, and that was growing very quickly. And we're like, well, we already know business. We'll launch this. It'll be no problem, right? And absolutely untrue whatsoever. Yeah. It was almost like you're starting over, and which, in fact, we were. So we had a lot of learned lessons from, the presentation and the pricing. So one thing we used to do is, hey, we'll guarantee you it's double the value every single box. And you open up the box. And it still appears to be true, but then you always have bargain hunters like, well, I found this on eBay used for this price. And they're always, so we're like, you know what, let's take that out of it. We don't want to turn up debate in it. It's good value. And we're only going to look for customers that appreciate that. They just want to use the stuff. So if you think about it, what we do is it's almost like a discount club where, because we have such a large membership base, we can go out straight to the factory and say, hey, listen, we're going to buy this many, Camelbacks or personal hydration systems or knives or flashlights or water buckets, whatever, and or sleeping bags in some cases. Because we're ordering such a large amount, that discount price goes straight to the consumer. And because we're ordering a nearly exact amount, we don't need to pad the prices heavy for inventory. Because we have some inventory for, replacements and whatnot, but nothing significant.
So speaking of replacements, this is one of the things I think I first noticed when I found you all before. Your beer guarantee is just funny. And I think that's one thing I relate to in your company. You're just people about it. You're doing so successful, but you just, you don't hide your humanity, right? So the beer guarantee, what is that? And do you have any funny stories that you remember? Because it says awesome stories, welcome. Do people actually send you their return stories?
Yes, we've had a few that are just absolutely, hilarious. Some of them are really cool. Some of them are like pretty sad. But so the beer guarantee came across. I was reading this book called Purple Cow. Good book. It's pretty popular. But I was just getting the business, so I used to read a lot, and I still do to this day. So I still read about 2 to 4 books a month on business. But so I read this book about how to stand out, and I'm like, well, I think our crowd likes beer. Let's call it the beer guarantee. And the way we present it is we wanted to describe what it means. So our return policy is so good that you can spill beer on your shirt at a party, stain it, send it back, and we'll replace it for you. That's how open it is. And the idea was, hey, you can trust us with the product because if you don't like it, even if you just stained it, you can still send it back. There's no 30-day window with the receipts and it has to be under these clauses. Right. No. Just make it super simple. And, we put a stipulation in there. If you try to game the system, we reserve the right to pull you from it. But out of the tens of thousands of people who've used the beer guarantee, we've had maybe 2 issues of, people trying to fraud us, but it's very rare. We want people to use it. We encourage people to use it. So we've had some people send back 30 shirts at a time. And, they used to call me about it like, Dan, can we return this? This is a lot. I'm like, yeah, that's a great customer. You replace it. We want his business.
Yeah.
But so one story I remember 2 particular stories that were pretty interesting. One of them was this guy. He said he was walking by and this American flag was dangling. So he took off his Grunt Style shirt, tore it into strips, and then anchored it back down. And he's like, I'm sorry, I don't have anything to return. But he showed us a picture, and we're like, oh, yeah, hook this guy up.
That's cool.
Yeah. Another case is we've had several duty officers said that, or EMS professionals saying that, hey, I was working on a victim and I got blood all over it. We're like, absolutely. Hey, great job. Let's take care of you. A lot of people during the hurricane Hurricane Harvey, they said, I don't have anything to return. We're like, no problem. We looked up their order history and we're like, here's a credit for X amount.
Wow, that's amazing. See, and that's another thing that is very solid. Not a lot of companies really stand by their policies like that, and that you do that is another thing that sets you apart.
LLB just got rid of theirs.
Yeah. Well, they're LLB, right? So where am I? You had a Super Bowl commercial that obviously that didn't actually air in the Super Bowl, but where did that come from? Because it is a pretty powerful commercial. Who was behind that? Why'd you start it?
It was meant to be played on the Super Bowl, and it was up to the Tuesday of that week of the Super Bowl when we were still negotiating with NBC to get the numbers to work. But at the end of the day, I won't bet the farm, for an opportunity. We take a lot of risk, but you don't risk your core business. So that was just the situation we're in. So although we could do it, it was a high risk move. So we steered from it, but
you learned from the billboard.
Yeah, I did. Don't bet the farm. But it was a collective group. I mean, the original commercial idea was completely different, and then we started throwing ideas back and forth, and then we met with our partners in Hollywood, and we were brainstorming, and it was just a group. We had a great team. We worked with our media partners, Musa Media. Their leader Brian Chung and Greg did a phenomenal job putting a good, solid team together. I mean, it was very, very well produced. We were with them through the entire filming process, and they're great. We've used them for our first commercial. We'll definitely use them again for our next commercial. Great team to work with.
Nice. So you have a lot of events on your calendar. It looks like you guys are hopping all over the place. You want to tell us a little bit about some of those events and maybe one of your biggest events?
Sure. Absolutely. So we have over 200 events scheduled this year alone. And the whole reason why we wanted to get into events is because we're very digital, right? Everything's online, social media, email, website, whatever. And we don't have physical stores. Now we sell in about 1,100 stores or so right now. But we don't have that physical relationship with the customer, which we want. So to us, events made sense. Let's go out there, see if we can get our fans there. They can bring their friends, and we'll go out physically, make those connections, and build that relationship. So that we've done some small events before, but the big one that kicked it off was Grunt Fest. And our first Grunt Fest, we had barely had over 100 people there, and it was a big deal. I mean, there was 400 people there, but only 100 of them were there for the actual event. The other 300 are just there. And now it's turned into, instead of just an annual celebration, now it's turned into something pretty big. Our next one is April 7th. It's here in San Antonio at Cowboys Stadium. And we've already, with the tickets it's sold, and it's February, we've sold more tickets for this Grunt Fest than any of our Grunt Fests already. And we still have plenty of time. Yeah, it's going to be, maybe 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people showing up, which is the limit. They can't hold more than that.
Okay. Well, that's a good limit to have that. So tell everyone what the Grunt Fest is, what it does, what the purpose is, and what happens during it.
It started out as like a wild, crazy beach party,
Friday
right?
Night, yeah.
Our first Grunt Fest, it was a little bit cruder, and we've evolved as a brand, and again with the experience. So the first one we did was a bikini contest,
nice,
and open bar, drink beer package, right?
Dudes.
And then we had DJ play, and but now it's evolved into basically a carnival about everything that we do. We bring a lot of our VIPs and celebrities out. So the idea is we have all these stations around the field or stadium or wherever we're at. And so if you go to the Alpha Outpost booth, and once you're in, nothing costs money except for if you want to buy more drinks. You can go, if you go to the Alpha Outpost booth, they'll have like an axe throwing or a competition or a crossbow competition. Our Club Grunt Style tent would have like a beer pong tournament, and everything's just casual and fun. Our motorsports division, they brought out this huge monster truck, and you can go in and take pictures with it. And then they had this tricycle race, which was really funny to see a lot of these grown adults. It's a very adult party, but racing around, drinking while doing this tricycle race. It's all sorts of these things, and you get to, we had one of the largest inflatable obstacle courses out there, and you would compete with some of our celebrities. The idea, and we bring all our VIPs out there, our UFC fighters, our NASCAR driver, et cetera, and they don't stay behind a VIP booth and say, "Hey, we're back here." Yeah. They have to go and mingle, take pictures, walk around. It's fun. Awesome. I don't want to. Although we have a concert at these, in the evening, it's you get the chance to go meet. There is no, because you just paid for a general admission ticket, you only get to see them from afar. We want you to have the opportunity to go meet them.
Yeah. Awesome. So do those people, do some of them donate their times, those celebrities and VIPs? Are there some of them that donate their time to come, or that just stop in? Or
no, these are all people that we work with on a regular basis. So like our NASCAR driver, we have the Grunt Style NASCAR. Okay. Got a big logo all over it. Of course you do.
That was it. Just take that question back. I should have just known that. Of course
all
you do.
All these guys are under contract with, but we work with people we really like. We turn down people that are like, we don't want to work with you because you are difficult. We want someone who's excited to go meet our fans. Yeah. Our fans pay our bills. They pay their bills, but I want our fans to say, I got to party with a NASCAR driver. Here's a picture. I got to party with this musician. Here's a picture, etc.
Yeah. Awesome. So you have one of your newer products is bourbon, America bourbon, right?
Delicious.
Yeah, I know. You know what? I'm not a bourbon drinker, but now I've been seeing so much of the America bourbon. I feel like it's going to be in my future at some point. We're going to start drinking it because you got to. I mean, just the name itself, it was genius. Just a fun name to say, right? And who doesn't want it? It's a great gift idea too. Like, go ahead, I'm going to give you some America. It's great. Where did that come from? And can you somehow do that with tequila? Because it's so much better than bourbon.
I disagree.
That's okay. You don't have to be right about everything.
So it actually, this is the true story, but it's not sexy. But
it's all right.
We had a Marine Corps veteran buddy of ours came to us. He's like, I've been in the liquor industry for 10 years. I know distribution, manufacturing, etc. I got this great brand I want to launch. The hardest thing about spirits, even beer and wine, is getting it, making it famous, getting it popular, letting people know about it. He's like, you guys are some of the best marketers in digital media, and you have the right audience for it. Can we partner on this brand? And so I looked at it and I'm like, well, I don't like bourbon. I don't like whiskey. I want to. It's very American, but it tastes like brown battery acid to me. It's awful. I like vodka a lot. That's
right. Anyway, I like tequila. We're guilty. Go ahead.
Okay, good. So I said, here's the deal. Being authentic is a big part of our brand. If I like the flavor, then we'll promote it. But I don't like bourbon. I'm letting you know right now. He's like, no problem. So we spent 6 months back and forth working on this flavor, and we nailed it. It's delicious. Most bourbon and whiskey, you have to be about 4 or 5 fingers in to numb your mouth enough just to you to drink it. But with this it has such a smooth yet sweet with a little bit of kick flavor to it. You can drive home on a long Friday night, sit in your car and say, I can't wait to take that first sip.
All right. If you say so. So where can people go buy that?
We sell in 42 states. We have some good distribution. It's only been out for 6 months. But if you're in Texas, we're in every Specs statewide. We're in all the Binnies in Illinois, and we're in a number of other states. But if you just want to go get a bottle delivered to your house, we can do that in almost every state. Just go to americabourbon.com.
Nice. I'll be in Texas in May. I'll see you at the TEDx talk, I hear. I saw that you're doing that. So I'll pick up a bottle. Maybe I'll pick up a bottle there and I'll have you do a shot with me. All right.
There you go. We'll do it right before we go and speak.
Oh, that's perfect. That's how I do my best talks sometimes.
There you go.
Okay. So where can people find out more about Grunt Style? There's way more, but I could keep you here all day if I had you go. You have a fitness app. I mean, you have events, you have products. Your fitness app looks so cool too. Do you want to talk about that quickly before we go, or you got to go?
No, I'm okay. I got a few minutes. So the fitness app, again, huge learning curve. The idea was if we create a really, really good fitness app, one, we are engaging with an audience we want to talk to, which is fitness. Fitness is important to us. Right. And if we make it free, we can get a bigger audience. And the idea is get a hold of that audience outside of social media, make it engaging, show them that, hey, we're putting something forward. Here's a free tool that you could use. Big learning curve again. We've never developed an app outside of our Grunt Style app, which is basically an app for a store. So we're learning all the dynamics. We partnered with a developer that did a lot of overseas work, which we didn't know at the time until we started getting into it. Huge disaster, but learning curve for us. So now we're partnering with another firm to bring in more developers in-house that are on our payroll. And we're working with a local firm in San Antonio that all their developers are in the city. A lot of them are vets as well. Great group. Our job was we focus on making one or two things really, really good. And then we can worry about everything else later.
Nice. All right. Last two questions, which we try to ask everyone. I almost forgot. And especially you, this will be an interesting answer because we talk a lot about patriotism. It's important to us for a lot of reasons. And it's obviously something that's important to you all. We have our own idea of what patriotism means to us, but what does it mean to you?
Patriotism to me is like, and neither of us have this, but it's like having a daughter. Right?
I have a stepdaughter now, so that's
there you go. Yes. Perfect. So it's like having a daughter, right?
Yeah.
You love her. You try to help her do the right thing. You try to steer in the direction. She's going to make some mistakes. And if anyone messes with her, you're going to wreck their world.
Nice. I think that honestly is the coolest answer I've ever heard. Can't wait to you hear that later. Okay. Les, if there was somebody in the world that you could call up today and meet, someone you haven't met yet, just pick up the phone and that person be here today and you get to meet them, hang out with them. Who would it be? Why?
I'd say there's a couple people. I like Elon Musk. I think he's fascinating. With how far out he likes to think. I like Michael Dell. He for having privately held companies. He does such a phenomenal job, and they're both very, very patriotic in their own ways as well. Very pro-military, and that can mean a lot to a lot of different people. But I know they both have really strong military hiring initiatives. They try to keep that core centric. Even Jeff Bezos at Amazon does that. It's fascinating. I'd love to sit down and have lunch with either of those guys.
All right. Put it on your list, man. And then if you could go back in time to your 22-year-old self, what advice would you have for that Daniel Alarik, age 22?
I wouldn't say a word. I said, go get dirty.
Awesome. Love it. Thank you so much for being here today. We are going to add links to all of your sites and let everybody know where they can find you. And
awesome.
And we'll follow up and keep popping this up so people don't lose touch with you. But thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with us today.
It was great to be here. Thank you so much for having me.